tuning in to an episode of Asemio Decoded. This is episode 5, our last for 2022. It's a special episode. We're doing an end-of-year reflection, and we have a special milestone coming up in the upcoming year that we're going to be talking about as well. We'd like to start off with some introductions, and we'll just do a quick round. Ben, why don't we start with you?
Thanks. Hey, everybody. My name is Ben Threadgill. I'm Director of Technology here at Asemio, also one of the original co-founders of Asemio. So, my background is in public education, spent a lot of years building full stack software for public education and really enjoyed that, and brought those talents here to Asemio as we continue to deliver great software to our clients.
Hi, I'm Aaron Bean, Managing Director and co-founder of Asemio, and really excited that we're closing out the year on such a fun and interesting podcast episode.
Hey y'all, and I'm Jessica England, and Director of Strategy and Partnerships at Asemio. We are at the end of the year, taking some time to reflect. It's been a great year. We are looking ahead to a really important milestone too. So in July of 2023, that marks our 10-year anniversary as an organization. Built from a single contract into the team that we are today. It has been a journey. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Reflect on the past 10 years, look ahead to next year and what the next 10 years may hold. So we're excited to dive into some questions and reflections.
What were you doing 10 years ago?
10 years ago, let's see.
It's 2013.
35 years old, living here in Tulsa, no kids yet. Did have a sports car. Loved that sports car then.
Wait, you were 35 years old?
Yeah. 10 years ago. Yeah.
You were 45?
Mm-hmm. We're the same age.
44.
I need to check my math.
I'm younger.
Oh.
You're at the age where you don't know how old you
Yeah.
are.
Are you
which
really
is-
45?
There's a threshold.
Born in 78. When were you born?
What month?
October.
Oh, you just turned. Okay, May.
Yeah, just turned.
I thought I was older.
So did I.
Wait,
10 years later,
hold on.
we find out.
October
Yeah.
of 78.
Yeah.
What month?
May of 78.
You're
Wait, am I 45?
You're older.
I'm 45?
Well,
Right?
speaking of
I've
problems,
got to
Hang
look
on.
it up.
problem.
Maybe
On the
I'm
phone.
wrong.
It's
We're at the
20.
age I forget how old I am.
How old? There's a website for this.
So this is
How old
what year
am
is
I?
this? This is 22.
22.
Yeah,
22.
but you have a
should be-
calculator.
And even
I'm pretty
number. You're
sure.
44.
I'm pretty sure I'm
Both of you.
44.
44. My fault.
Oh,
All right.
busted on the podcast.
Ouch.
Aaron, make sure that stays
That was
in.
painful.
Make sure that stays in.
Oh, that's funny.
So this is, don't
Yeah.
worry, I handle a lot of the complex data analytics.
Yes.
So, living in Tulsa, I think I was 3 years into an education software company at that point.
Brighter Logic.
Brighter Logics, yeah.
Logics. Yeah, that's
Yep.
right, Brighter Logics. Yeah.
Yep, Brighter Logics. That's where I was at.
I was unemployed. I think that's, I read somewhere, probably in a source I won't be able to remember, that one of the main reasons that individuals start their own company is because they can't find a job. And so I think because I was back from the Peace Corps,
Right.
and was looking, like I hadn't found anything. I think I was doing some contract work actually at that point when we met.
Well, okay, so y'all were just getting started, and it would be less than a year before I would cross paths with y'all.
Yeah, because
it
we
was
ended
like
up,
the
we were,
potential.
we were
Yeah.
moving into the space, and you were working for the HIE, and we were
Yep.
moving into outside of education,
Right.
into health and human services, and justice involvement. And we partnered with the organization that you were working
Right.
in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is now the statewide HIE, My Health Access Network,
Yep.
for Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
you were there in the beginning helping build that system, and we were helping connect in social services organizations, the safety net organizations. Wow. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I was thinking back to our first office we had over there where we rented like one room. We have enough revenue coming in to rent one room in a building And
was
that was
an
our
old
starter
house.
office. Yeah, oh, it wasn't even a building.
Yeah,
It was an
old house.
old renovated house.
We've just been bouncing closer and closer to the arts district, right? We're just
Yeah.
moving
Oh, yeah.
further and further north into town.
There was like 4 businesses in there, I think. One, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And then we like expanded out, and eventually we had the whole house, except for maybe one room, I think. And then, and then moved. Yeah,
Moved to a different house.
Moved to a different house.
Yeah.
Upgraded. So that was our starter home, and then we.
Then expanded into the whole house.
Yep.
Then
Yeah,
moved to
yeah.
a warehouse.
What?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Right,
you
right.
led that renovation, right?
That was a good renovation.
It was a good one.
It really was.
It was transformative.
Economical. That's you want both those. You want economical and transformative.
That was awesome.
It was. And now we're here. Talk about first impressions.
Ben, what was your first impression of me?
I think I think my first impression was that commercial, like the most interesting man in the room. It's like every time I have a conversation with you and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about like magic's interesting to me. Or like, oh yeah, I had a little show for a while to do that, or just everything that comes up. It's like, you've got a story, you've done it. Like, here's an interesting fact about it. So I think that was one of my first impressions of you.
Because my first impression of you was just like a solid, like, oh well, this is the kind of guy that you could trust, and there's not a lot of gamesmanship there. It's kind of like what you see is what you get, and that has been really consistent also throughout the years.
And then Aaron, for you, it was like
It was
immediately.
also grounded for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Grounded, calm,
Stable.
all of those things. Right out of the gate, we were working as a team, right? So but in different organizations, but working towards the same goal. And so it was just this experience of immediate just partnership, right? And it was like, okay, this is somebody, like, you've got my back, And so then when we got together, and started working together as, at Asemio when I joined, not that long after, it was like, it was a great dynamic all the way around, which is one of the reasons I, was like, yes, I want to run a business with these folks. Like, this is awesome.
Totally. Yeah, and I remember because we were working on a project, and you were project managing the team and the organization you were working at, and I was project managing the team and the organization that I was working at Asemio. And I remember my first impression was one of extreme competence and excellent prioritization, which may also later made it, highly desirable to recruit you. Because I remember we were working on, getting the initial requirements going and stuff like that. And you could tell, like, when we sat down and used time, it was highly curated. And we got through, and you were very relational as well. But the thing that made my initial first impression was just how well you were, like, scoping and narrowing down to get to the actual meat of the project, which was very helpful in that particular project for sure.
Yeah, something similar for me. I think it was a cross between, for you, Jess, like this power executive coming in, because you came in the middle of a bit of a tense situation. I think Aaron even told me how he brought you in. Like, part of your interview was literally sitting in front of an executive of one of our clients to talk through an issue. So, like, you made it through that, and then also mixed with part fashionista. That's one thing that I like. Even like today, it's like I feel like you've upped the level that we all try to dress and aspire toward. So.
I mean, to be fair, that wasn't hard to up Ben and me's level of fashionistas.
That's amazing. That's funny. When I was like getting dressed this morning, I was like, oh, I should probably think about this. This is a very like elder millennial outfit. I feel like it's not cool anymore. Thank you.
Wait, it comes back around.
It does. I know. Probably just wait another
As the
couple years.
eldest, I can. No, so that particular, the way that Jess was like interviewed was really funny because basically we'd been talking about a possible move over to Asemio, and you weren't working at the HIE then, you were working for a health system.
Yeah.
And basically we had a key partner who led and continues to lead an amazing local organization. and they called with a really serious technology and infrastructure problem. And they were like, look, we're afraid this organization might actually be at risk. Like the sustainability of the entire organization is a very large and very critical one for the community. And we need someone to come in and help us with this critical project. It was a technology project. And they were like, and can you meet today for lunch to talk about it? And I was like, of course. Hung up the phone and called Jess. And I was like, here's the deal. If you want to work for us, you have to meet for lunch today. And you have to like win over this key executive too, as well. And by the way, I don't really have time to give you much background on the project. See you soon. Bye. Click. Here's the address. I think I even had to text you the location.
Yeah, you did.
And so you just walk in. But this is one of your skills is you just walked in, no problem, little amount of information, and just consumed what you needed in real time and actually that project ended up incredibly successful.
Yeah, that was
incredibly
That was
successful.
fun. That was a long engagement though, but it evolved over time. Now I was like, okay, these are people who are heartfelt and competent, want to do good in the world, have some sense about them. And for me, because I came in, I mean, y'all have been working together already for a little while, so it was a little bit different. But the opportunity to build something with folks like that you could put your trust in, absolutely.
I didn't have a job. I needed to get paid. And so it's funny because I didn't have this like vision to be an entrepreneur, but I did want to do good work in the world. And that was my challenge was I had a tech background. I'd worked at big tech. I had a lot of technology management experience, PMO experience, and building infrastructure. And then I was in the United States Peace Corps, and I had a real heart for service and affecting community for good. And then, so I was trying to merge that. And like, I think, turned out that you were willing to accept that because when we were first talking, I remember in the very first days, it was like, look, this is what I'm doing now. And if we're gonna work together, I want to do it in the social impact space. And we had to talk through that because that wasn't necessarily given at the beginning. And so I guess the short answer is like that, you didn't say no too much. You were willing to like take a risk together.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I do remember some of those conversations, and I think that's what appealed to me as well, is that I always really had a heart for that mission-focused work, and the vision that you had cast forward in that moment of even widening outside of education for me was really appealing. And then also, even though you said you weren't an entrepreneur, I still felt that scrappiness that you have to have as an entrepreneur to do what it takes to work the long hours or to put in the effort to actually stand up enough infrastructure to make things work long before you have other people around and it's just you. There's no one else to do the work. And I really got that sense, like even when we worked on that first project, that you were going to be there, you were going to do that, and that we could make something great out of it.
Okay. The question then for you two, what's been the most rewarding thing about starting Asemio, running Asemio, being in this space?
I think for me, the most rewarding, I did this activity a while back with engineers, because sometimes when you're at a computer coding, it's hard to relate the work that we do. And sometimes you get lost behind the code and what's in between, the impact that we make. And I had them all make a list of, start writing down, think about our client's client and what they are. And I want you to think about who that person is. And let's write a few of those down. So compiling those together and then taking a step back and being able to say, wow, like we may have impacted a woman who was in an abusive relationship. We may have helped a family receive some type of critical services because their power was just turned off. We helped another family who just got evicted, and just thinking about that and the work that we're doing just empowers our clients to be able to really make a difference in those individual people's lives. That's just something that really sits with me that I'm really proud of.
I really love building things and like solving problems and puzzling. And if you are an entrepreneur, there's never like a problem, find a problem to solve or something to build. And so Like, I have a lot of joy out of the interactions that we have as a team and the people that I get to work with every day and the partners and clients we have. And the idea that we've built that together, is just gives a lot back personally.
It's definitely like building the team, building an environment that I personally want to work in. I think we've talked about that before. It's too hard. Like, what would we do if we weren't at Asemio and we're like ruined because we're, we've built this environment and we're a little feral, I think, to go into like other organizations. Like, I mean that in a good way. But so much about it is creating this like positive space for people to come in and showcase their talents, and you create a community. We spend so much time together and with our teammates that to me is in many ways, even some days above the work that we are doing, is like the greatest reward.
Yeah. It's nice to not like, there's never a day that I go to bed like wondering if I'm doing like the right thing. Like, there's days that I wonder if I'm doing the right thing to do the right thing, if that makes sense, if I made the right decisions. But trying to enable social impact organizations to have better access to data and help, facilitate insight is just fulfilling.
Well, you guys should ask a question. One of you should.
Yeah.
I keep asking a question.
Craziest late night you've pulled?
At Asemio. Tangentially work.
Not in
just
college.
to clarify.
Not in college.
What if you want to share?
Actually, I don't even think Ben would have that many interesting stories, to be honest, about college. Do you have any? That's as wild as it gets for Ben. He went to 85 miles an hour one day.
What? Was it in a 75?
He's like, I would never do that. I have it. I have. You know one that comes to mind for me?
Yeah, I have one that comes to mind.
What?
So it may be the same one.
Is it the website rebuild?
No.
Then you start. You go.
So I remember working on a client project, and we were building the front end for this project, and the client was responsible for the API layer, and it was coming up until the client's board meeting, and our work was right up to the goal line. We're working hard to get it done, and then right at the 11th hour, the client said, or the client's development team said, yeah, we're not going to have those APIs done. So we have no data to run through to do a demo for the board meeting. And so we get on the phone and say, what do? This is one of those pivotal moments. Are we going to push through and find a way to make it happen? Or are we just going to let this fail right now?
This is at like 11 o'clock at night or something, when we've already been working all day on this. And all they had to do was wire up the back end. Yep. All they had to do, quote.
Right.
So for those that don't know, there's a front end and a back end, and they both come together in order to provide a working product.
Yeah. And so in that moment, we made the decision, we're going to make it work. We're going to do the work. And so we're talking, where are we going to do this? It's like, just come over. So you came over to my house, and we had this little tiny office, and we just cram in the office. And my wife and kids are in bed. They go to bed, and we just keep on working and work through the night. And lo and behold, we got it done. We pushed through. We're researching ICD-10 codes and like what things mean to simulate data, built API endpoints, and actually got them through the demo, and it was a working product.
Yeah, because we didn't know the domain. That's the problem, is we didn't actually know what was supposed to show up in these data elements that we built. And so I was Googling and getting screenshots of systems that had data like this in it and be like, I guess these are what diagnoses look like. And we'll just copy and paste. And Ben was building the back end, throwing the data in. And it did. It not only worked, it got the product out the door. The board meeting went awesome. And now there's a whole company that's built, a multi-million-dollar company built off of that product that we pushed through that night. And I think, and that was a great story. Yeah. That was a great one. That was a better one than the one I was thinking of, I think.
Well, what was the one you were thinking?
So we got wind, when you're growing, there's certain opportunities that come up in a brand and an impression you want. And we got wind that a very influential individual in our space who has a lot of resources that was considering putting them into different areas was going to be evaluating our website, like looking at us as a company. And actually, I don't even know that we knew they were going to be evaluating the website, but we knew that that's where they would start. And we didn't know exactly when, but sometime in the next few days. And we thought we could have a better website. And so we again, it's a very similar story. It was like 7:00 at night. It's like, okay, we're just going to do it now. And so went over to Ben's. It's always over at your house. Thank you for that, by the way.
Sure.
So we go over to Ben's house and just start building. So we designed it and built it in one evening just through the night. And so we would take turns, like kind of just one of us would sleep and one of us would work on it.
So I bet they weren't the same house though. Because Ben, you in the last 10 years,
Ben likes to move houses.
how many houses have you moved to?
4. We have a bit of a habit. I think 4 or 5. We have a bit of habit of moving in, renovating, and then realizing, oh, we could sell this and let's do it all over again. So, but this is the last one.
That's what he says.
Knock for some wood to knock on. Yeah, this is the last one.
So I've got a question. Like, what do you feel like you've learned about leadership over the last 10 years? Or what has changed about your leadership mentality? Or what kind of lessons do you feel like stand out for you?
I think for me, I've learned that leadership is more about me not having to have all of the answers and not always having to lead. And I've really settled into a more servant leadership model in which I really try to focus on empowering others and helping others meet their full potential and not always having to have the answer. Because to me, that's not what it's always about. To be a good leader, it's really enabling and empowering other people to do that, and it allows them to grow at the same time.
Yeah, great answer. And there's 2 things that come to mind. One is there's no such thing as over communication and checking in, and whether you're a big team or a small team, the assumption that communication has happened is an easy one to make. And just checking in for understanding, creating space for people to ask questions. And then the other, and this is just infused in everything that we do, is just staying grounded in empathy and understanding where people are coming from. We are whole people at work, right? And that comes with a lot of things. The last several years, of course, have been particularly volatile for many. But even before that too, there's just all kinds of things that show up in life, and that shows up in your work. And I think just being aware and recognizing how that affects people in their day-to-day and at work, right? There's not a separation. And so I think you have to just maintain that always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things has been how important introspection is. And especially if you have authority, then it's easy to misuse that or to get caught into what you were talking about like thinking that you're supposed to have all the answers, for example, and you have to make all the decisions. And the times when I feel like I've grown most, or when I realized something about myself that was new or uncomfortable, like for example, y'all probably don't realize this, but I can be intense in my energy. So you've probably never experienced that in the last 10 years.
Not in the last 10 years, Aaron.
I think actually, Jessica, there was a specific moment in time that we can both go back to where you were pulling me aside and saying, "Hey, you're intense," and sometimes that's a bit much. And it didn't come from a bad place, but getting that learning and that insight that others don't perceive you as you perceive yourselves, as simple as it sounds, is that's like ever present. And I think that especially as an organization grows and demands more different things from you as a leader, then you have to be willing to always challenge some of those preconceived notions. And that can be very difficult, and getting perspective can be very difficult. That's why I'm really grateful that we have a partnership because we can kind of push and test each other on those things and get that insight. And we have a great team too that is willing to speak up and give perspective as well.
We've had our fair share of traveling.
That we have.
And international and domestic. And curious what your favorite or wackiest travel stories
I mean, it was pretty surreal whenever we were in Scotland and the Queen passed because we were like at a data linking conference. I mean, it doesn't seem all that, it was a very interesting conference, but it doesn't really seem all that, it didn't seem all that grounded in, you know, royalty or the world around us in many ways. You're with academics generally and government officials who are thinking about this stuff. And then suddenly there's a huge, you know, national and global event that is in the region. It's centered in the region that you're in, and so the streets suddenly were crowded, and everyone was talking about it, and people's phones were blowing up, and I learned a lot about what other countries, you know, about what Scotland thinks about, like the different perspectives on what do they call it? Royalist, if they're royalism or royalist.
Royalist or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did really good. So a few years before, we were in Wales, and I remember, like, I think it was right when we were leaving, and was it something to do with Brexit? There was like a big momentous event then too, like some vote had
Oh
been
yeah, I
passed.
think it was.
'Cause I
I
remember
think they were voting on Brexit.
in this like airport, watching the TV and going like, oh my gosh. And then, so yeah, so when we go to the UK,
They're
things
not going to let us. They're not going to let us back there.
so in the spirit of change, how we deliver services, how we build technology, what we build has changed. But how would you describe that?
I think one of the first things that come to mind is just how we structure projects and how we go about building what we build. We started out very waterfall when we first started developing systems, thinking we need to plan every single detail, build the entire map beginning to end before we start. And we really found out that that doesn't work for a lot of reasons. And over time have transitioned our processes to more of an agile process where we build a little bit as we go. We constantly checking in, delivering working software to the client and allowing them to help prioritize as they go and really get them the right solution. So even though they think they may need a moped, we end up with a sports car by the end of it, or whatever the correct metaphor is there.
Ben really wants a sports car
I
back.
do. I
Is
keep
the
coming
takeaway.
back to that.
Might be something to look at there.
When you're retired, you can
Yeah, there we go.
post midlife crisis.
Yeah. How would you characterize it, that shift?
I think I mean, as our domain has deepened, a lot has changed. We understand more about the complexities, like what is hard about workflow and data sharing and referrals and coordinating care for community members. There's been a lot of insights there. There in the private sector, there's a lot of times a central authority. You're talking about like a business enterprise where there's someone who can make decisions that flow throughout that enterprise or a group of people. But in society, in communities, there's a level of decentralization that's very difficult to design systems and technology for. And that's been a really interesting lesson. In addition, technology has evolved, specifically application platforms as a service. There's always a tension. Even 2 days ago, I had a partner asking me about low code, no code solutions. And most engineers will have a very strong opinion on that immediately and about how difficult it is to actually implement something like that. However, there has been more virtualization over time. It goes all the way back even to whenever we used to have servers in rooms, and now cloud services have, primarily the manner in which a lot of technology is delivered. And then certain parts of applications have been virtualized too, where you have application platforms as a service as well. And so I think that as in some ways technology becomes easier, but also our domain becomes deeper. And then as Ben mentioned, our processes become better. All those things have shifted over time and will continue to shift as more powerful technologies come out that can support the work.
Absolutely.
Have you seen in the last 10 years, our processes or technology or people shift?
I don't know if I have a ton to add on top of that. I think that where I see us invest time in finding ways to be more efficient. I mean, through some of the planning and shifting how we work so that we mitigate against rework. It's better for our clients, it's better for our team. It helps us stay in a position where we can evolve with the folks we're working with. And I think just a big plus one to what y'all are talking about. And yeah, you have to continue to evolve. So thanks y'all for tuning in to our final episode of the year. Be sure to stay tuned for what's going to be coming up in 2023. We'll be back in the first part of the year with another episode. Excited to share and celebrate more amazing things, bring more great stories and interesting folks who are working in this space. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes, and thanks again.
Like an episode where we say what we really want to say. You know what? It's fucking feast or famine, and it sucks. It's the bread pie rub. It's every day. You did a fine job, but maybe. No, I'm just kidding. No.